Sri Lanka. An island of kingdoms and conquest, of breathtaking beauty and buried scars. For over 2,500 years, people have called this land home. They built cities from stone and carved temples into cliffs. But this is no ordinary island. Just off the southern tip of India, Sri Lanka's landscapes shift in every direction. Tropical beaches, mist-covered peaks, and highlands wrapped in endless tea fields. Through centuries, it was ruled by Sinhala and Tamil kings, then colonized by the Portuguese, Dutch, and British, until finally reclaiming independence in 1948. But peace doesn't always last. In 1983, civil war erupted, a brutal conflict between government forces and the Tamil Tigers. Tens of thousands were killed, families were torn apart, and cities turned into battlegrounds. When the war ended in 2009, the country began to rebuild, but the shadows of the past still lingered, and yet Sri Lanka endures. Today, over 22 million people live here, shaped by centuries of tradition, language, and belief. The country is home to one of the world's oldest continuous Buddhist civilizations. But at Ambuluwawa Tower, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity are honored together, rising as one in a symbol of unity. The island holds some of the rarest life on Earth. Over 27% of its species are found nowhere else. From the hills where Ceylon tea is still picked by hand, to the rails of the most beautiful train ride in the world, every part of this island holds a truth, some painful, some profound, but all of it unforgettable. These are the wonders of Sri Lanka. Sigiriya Rock. This is one of the most extraordinary fortresses ever built. A palace, a stronghold, and a monument to a king's ambition. 200 meters above the jungle lies Sigiriya Rock. In 477 AD, King Kashyapa I seized the throne in a brutal coup. Fearing revenge, he built an unassailable citadel, a kingdom in the sky. From a distance, the rock looks impossible, its vertical walls rising straight from the earth. But the climb is what truly makes Sigiriya unforgettable. The ascent takes 30 to 45 minutes. The staircases hug the rock face. It's not technical, but it's steep, exposed, and not for those with a fear of heights. Near the top is the Lion's Gate. Once a massive lion carved into the rock, its paws are now all that remain at the final stairway to the summit. The site of Kasyapa's royal palace. The flat rock surface spreads wide, surrounded by low walls and stone foundations that outline what was once a grand complex. For 18 years, Sigiriya stood as his capital until Kashapa was betrayed and defeated in battle. Abandoned for centuries, the fortress was reclaimed by the jungle before British explorers uncovered it in the 19th century. Today, Sigiriya is Sri Lanka's most famous UNESCO World Heritage Site and a masterpiece of man's power and vision. Colombo. It's not the official capital, but Colombo is where Sri Lanka comes together, a city where everything converges: trade, politics, religion, and history, all layered through this constantly evolving metropolis. This is Sri Lanka's largest city and its commercial engine, home to government ministries, international business hubs, and some of the country's busiest ports and markets. Rising above the skyline is Lotus Tower. At 356 meters, it's the tallest structure in South Asia. Its design is inspired by the lotus flower, a green stem and a purple crown, symbols of purity and rebirth in Sri Lankan culture. But for all its progress, Colombo hasn't lost its soul. This is a city of contrasts, where colonial buildings stand beside glass towers, and temples share the same street as churches and mosques. The city's diversity is reflected in its food, its neighborhoods, and the languages spoken on every corner. Trains run just meters from the shore, hugging the coastline as they pass fishing villages and parts of the city. It's one of the most scenic stretches of rail in the country, chaotic and beautiful. For most visitors, this is the gateway to Sri Lanka, their first glimpse of the country and often the last. Ella. High above the jungle valley, a bridge of towering stone arches carries trains through the mist, weaving past tea-covered hills on one of the most scenic journeys in the world. Welcome to Ella, a town built in the mountains, where peaks rise above endless plantations, waterfalls cut through cliffs, and valleys stretch to the horizon. At 1,041 meters above sea level, Ella sits in Sri Lanka's central highlands, a region once controlled by the British. They reshaped its valleys into vast Ceylon tea plantations, an industry that still thrives today. Blue and cream-colored trains wind through tunnels and cliffside tracks before emerging onto one of Sri Lanka's most breathtaking man-made wonders, the Nine-Arch Bridge. Built in 1921, this engineering marvel stands 24 meters high and stretches 91 meters across. Constructed entirely without steel, a remarkable feat of design that has stood unshaken for over a century. Its arches rise in perfect symmetry over the valley, framed by jungle-covered ridges. The sight of a train slowly crossing the bridge and disappearing into the mist is one of Sri Lanka's most photographed moments. High above the town, Little Adams Peak offers one of the most rewarding hikes in the region. The trail winds through tea plantations and grassy hills, leading to a summit overlooking Ella Gap. From here, one peak stands out in the distance, Ella Rock, the highest point in the region. Although a steeper, more challenging climb, it rewards those who reach the top with sweeping views of the valley below. Cascading down from these same ridges, Ravana Falls crashes 25 meters over rocky ledges, splitting into cascades before pooling in a basin below. During the rainy season, the water surges over the dark rock face. Monkeys cling to branches nearby, watching as visitors cool off in the lower pools. According to legend, King Ravana, ruler of Lanka in the Ramayana epic, hid Princess Sita in a cave behind the falls, though no one knows if the legend is true. Negombo. Its name once meant tree by the water. But in Negombo, it's not just the tree that thrives. It's the people, the trade, and the life that surrounds it. At dawn, the fish market comes alive. Boats pull in from the ocean and the lagoon, filled with tuna, crab, shrimp, and cuttlefish. This is one of the busiest fishing hubs in Sri Lanka. The Negombo Lagoon stretches inland, where quiet waters flow through tangled roots and soft earth. Running beside it is the Dutch Canal, first built by the Portuguese and expanded by the Dutch in the 1600s to transport cinnamon and spices inland. Today, it still cuts a quiet path through town. Negombo is also known as Little Rome. The city has one of the largest Catholic communities in Sri Lanka, and its skyline is dotted with steeples. The grandest of them all, St. Mary's Church, completed in 1922, is covered in vivid frescoes that glow in the afternoon light. In Negombo, everything flows back to the water: faith, food, and everyday life. Galle Dutch Fort. Built by the Portuguese in 1588 and expanded by the Dutch in 1649, Galle Fort is one of the largest and best preserved coastal fortresses in Asia. The fortress is massive. Thick granite and coral stone walls stretch for over 3 kilometers. Encircling the old town like a shield, these defenses stand more than 10 meters high and have withstood centuries of attacks, fierce monsoons, and even the 2004 tsunami. Over 90% of its original structures remain. Bastions, ramparts, colonial buildings, and even a Dutch-era drainage system still in use today. the fort's edge stands the Galle Lighthouse, Sri Lanka's oldest light station. Originally built by the British in 1848 and reconstructed in 1939, the lighthouse stands 26.5 meters tall on the southeast bastion overlooking the Indian Ocean. It has guided countless ships through the busy sea routes of the southern coast. But Galle Fort isn't just a relic of the past. Within its walls, locals run cafes, boutique shops, and guest houses, keeping the fort alive with everyday life. Haputale. Perched along the southern highlands, a small town hidden in mist, clings to the edge of the world. At over 1,400 meters above sea level, Haputale is surrounded by tea plantations and forest reserves. Mist drifts through eucalyptus trees. Hills drop steeply into the valley, and on a clear day, the view stretches nearly 100 kilometers, all the way to the southern coast. It's one of the most breathtaking points along the Kandy to Ella train, where the tracks curve along ridges, pass through cloud forests, and glide above the world below. Nuwara Eliya. At 1,868 meters above sea level, this is the highest town in Sri Lanka, set deep in the central highlands. In the 19th century, the British established Nuwara Eliya as a hill station, building racecourses, rose gardens, and cottages in the style of the English countryside. Its climate, architecture, and atmosphere earned it the name Little England. But beyond its colonial past, this region became the heart of one of Sri Lanka's most iconic exports, Ceylon tea. The hills surrounding the town are planted row by row with tea bushes, some so symmetrical they appear sculpted by hand. The cool temperatures and high elevations slow the growth, producing leaves known for their lightness and flavor, considered among the finest in the world. The Nuwara River winds through these slopes, cutting narrow valleys, feeding into Lake Gregory, and passing eucalyptus groves and the viaduct that connect tea estates to quiet villages. Tucked into the nearby hills is Lover's Leap, a narrow waterfall that drops 30 meters down granite cliffs. Fed by a stream from Sri Lanka's highest peak, it's named after a prince and village girl who leapt to their deaths, forbidden to marry. In Nuwara Eliya, every element, air, earth, and water, shapes the story. Hiriketiya Beach. Unlike the long, open beaches in Sri Lanka, Hiriketiya feels like a world of its own. Tucked away on the southern coast, the beach is a secluded horseshoe-shaped bay where the jungle meets the sea. Golden sand curves around turquoise waters, lined with coconut palms and rocky edges. But what makes Hiriketiya truly special is the waves. From November to April, steady swells roll in, making it one of Sri Lanka's best surf spots. Near the shore, beginners ride the gentler waves, but further out, the surf is faster, stronger, and unpredictable. The atmosphere is laid back and welcoming, drawing surfers, backpackers, and travelers looking for a peaceful escape. It remains one of Sri Lanka's last unspoiled surf hideaways, where the waves set the rhythm of life. Kandy. Once the final stronghold of Sinhalese kings, Kandy is a city shaped by devotion and defiance. Tucked into the central highlands, it was the last capital to resist colonial rule, sheltered by forest and protected by belief. The city is built into the hills, where mist rolls through narrow streets and rooftops rise with the slope of the land. The Mahaweli River, the longest in Sri Lanka, curves just beyond the city's edge. Once a lifeline for kings and farmers, its canals still run through the land, slow and steady. The Buddha statue of Sri Maha Bodhi Viharaya sits in stillness above the city. Built in the 1990s, the statue stands 26 meters tall and is visible from all across Kandy. At the center of it all is Kandy Lake, man-made, dug by a king in 1807. It reflects the trees and rooftops around it, and just beyond its edge, the city's most sacred site. Sri Dalada Maligawa, said to house a relic of the Buddha himself, this is one of the most sacred pilgrimage sites in all of Buddhism. The Temple of the Sacred Tooth. This grand temple complex sits on the edge of Kandy Lake, surrounded by stone walls and whitewashed terraces. According to legend, the relic arrived in the 4th century AD, hidden in the hair of an Indian princess. Over time, it became more than sacred. It became political. So kings built temples around it, guarded it with armies, and moved capitals to keep it safe. Inside stone halls and arched corridors, the air is thick with the scent of jasmine and incense. Wooden ceilings glow with lotus motifs, and pillars are carved with floral designs and guardian figures. Each day, worshippers arrive with lotus flowers in hand, moving through halls lined with carvings, oil lamps, and flickering gold. For centuries, kings protected it. Today, pilgrims revere it. Even in a city filled with beauty, nothing compares to this. Diyaluma Waterfall. Water spills from the cliffs in a single powerful drop, falling 220 meters into the valley below. Diyaluma is the second tallest waterfall in Sri Lanka and one of the most dramatic. As it descends, the water breaks into tears, crashing into rock pools carved by time, then continuing its plunge toward the forest floor. The falls are surrounded by rolling hills and scattered woodland, giving the landscape a raw, elevated beauty, untouched and wide open. Reaching the top takes effort. The road winds through small villages and tea fields before ending at a steep uphill trail. But those who make the climb are rewarded with natural pools at the summit and views that stretch endlessly across the highlands. Yala National Park. Spanning over 1,200 square kilometers on the island's southeast, Yala is the most visited national park in the country. Elephants roam in herds across the open plains. Deer walk in groups along dirt roads, and peacocks fan their feathers. Here, dry land blends into grass savannas, rocky outcrops, and coastal lagoons, creating a landscape as diverse as the wildlife it shelters. But Yala is best known for the Sri Lankan leopard, one of the highest densities of leopards in the world. In Sri Lanka, they are the top predators. With no lions or tigers to compete with, leopards roam freely, expand their territories, and thrive in the open. Jeep tracks cut through the park's thick brush, leading into a world where sightings are never guaranteed, but always possible. Ambuluwawa Tower. It rises through the clouds, thin, winding, otherworldly. From a distance, Ambuluwawa Tower looks like it's floating. Set high on a solitary peak near Gampola, this spiral tower twists into the sky, wrapped in mist and silence. At its base, shrines of Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity stand side by side, a rare symbol of unity in stone. Pidurangala Rock. The story begins with a king and a deal. Centuries ago, King Kashyapa built the fortress now known as Sigiriya. But to do it, he displaced a monastery that stood in its shadow. So in return, he built a new one here, at the base of Pidurangala. What remains today is a trail of stone and silence. A giant reclining Buddha rests beneath a rock ledge at its base, worn by time, but still revered. From there, the path climbs, steep, uneven, and carved by centuries of footsteps. As the forest thins, the climb grows more difficult. Boulders block the path, hands grip stone, and feet scramble up slick rock toward the summit. At the top, A flat expanse of ancient granite opens to the wind and sky, and below, a sea of green stretches to the horizon. The myths may bring you here, but the view is what stays with you. Pinnawala. Each morning, the river fills with giants. Dozens of elephants, young and old, make their way to the water. This is Pinnawala, a sanctuary for orphaned and injured elephants, founded in 1975. Many were displaced by war, separated from their herds, or rescued from captivity. Now, they roam together, feeding in the fields and bathing in the Maha Oya River. It's not the wild, but it's not a zoo either. It's simply a place of recovery, of care, of second chances. And for many, it's the closest they've ever come to touching the wild. Bambarakanda Waterfall. The tallest waterfall in Sri Lanka plunges 263 meters from the highland cliffs above. Bambarakanda is a narrow, powerful fall, dropping straight through pine-covered ridges into the valley near Haputale. Wrapped in mist and mountain air, the falls feel far from everything. No crowd, no barriers, just a ledge carved into the hillside and the sound of water falling from the sky. Polonnaruwa. For over 300 years, Polonnaruwa was the heart of Sri Lanka's kingdom, a city of power and devotion. But now, its ruins stretch across a vast landscape, silent, weathered, yet still imposing. Towering dagobas, broken temples, and endless rows of stone pillars mark the remains of a once mighty capital. Time has softened their edges, but their scale still hints at the grandeur of a lost kingdom. At the center of it all stands the royal palace of King Parakramabahu I. Once a 7-story structure, only its thick brick walls remain, rising defiantly against time. Though the city has long been abandoned, its ruins are still etched in stone. Japanese Peace Pagoda. From the quiet shore of Unawatuna, a trail winds upward through jungle and stone, leading to one of the most serene sights on Sri Lanka's southern coast, the Japanese Peace Pagoda, a brilliant white dome rising from Rumasala Hill. Built in 2005 by Buddhist monks, it stands as a symbol of peace, recovery, and resilience, part of a global movement that took root after the tsunami. The white dome emerges above the treetop, with prayer flags fluttering in the wind and the ocean stretching far below. It's not just a monument, It's a quiet place of reflection, suspended between forest and sea. Jaffna, far from the lush hills and crowded southern coasts, the land flattens into dry, open plains. This is the Jaffna Peninsula, a region unlike any other in Sri Lanka. Scattered across the peninsula are over a dozen small islands, each with its own quiet rhythm and connection to the sea. In the shallow waters of the Jaffna Lagoon, thousands of migratory birds gather. Flamingos, egrets, herons, and painted storks, drawn by the wetlands and salt pans. At the edge of the city stands Jaffna Fort, the second largest Dutch fort in Sri Lanka. First built by the Portuguese in 1618, it was later captured and expanded by the Dutch in the 1650s. Reaching this region means crossing the Elephant Pass Causeway, a narrow road stretching over 3.5 kilometers across water and salt flats. Once a strategic military choke point, it's now the only land link between Jaffna and the rest of Sri Lanka. Anuradhapura. Long before Colombo and Kandy, Anuradhapura was Sri Lanka's first royal capital. Its landscape was once filled with monasteries, palaces, and vast reservoirs that shaped early Sri Lankan civilization. Among its many ancient monuments, one stands above the rest: Ravana Stupa. Built in 140 BCE by King Dutugemunu, this white dome rises 55 meters above the city. It is believed to enshrine sacred relics of the Buddha, making it one of the most revered sites in all of Buddhism. Even after 2,000 years, worshippers still walk barefoot around its base, offering flowers and lighting oil lamps. This may be an ancient city, but at Ravana, faith has never faded. Udawalawe National Park. One of the best places in Asia to see wild elephants, where grasslands meet forest and herds roam free beneath open skies. In the southern heartlands of Sri Lanka, Udawalawe National Park stretches across vast plains and shimmering reservoirs. Hundreds of elephants move through the park, grazing near the water and traveling in herds across the dry brush, while the bulls stand still in the heat, flapping their ears to keep cool. Established in 1972, the park was built around the Udawalawe Reservoir, a vital water source for animals and nearby villages alike. Unlike the dense jungles of the north, Udawalawe is wide open. For many visitors, this is their first real glimpse of Sri Lanka's wildlife, and the one they remember most. Tangalle. there's a stillness to Tangalle that's hard to find elsewhere. Waves crash in the distance. Palm trees rustle overhead, and the town moves at its own quiet pace. Set along Sri Lanka's southern coast, Tangalle is known for its wide beaches, calm lagoons, and quiet fishing villages. Traditional boats line the shore, and winding roads pass through stretches of coast where the land feels open and untouched. It's a place where nature leads, and the ocean is never far away.